watching Newsday. Now, the meeting between the federal government team and the non-teaching staff in the universities under the Umbrella Joint Action Committee, JAC, has ended without any resolution of the contentious issues, which include integrated payroll and personnel information system, IPPIS, the non-payment of arrears of minimum wage since April last year, disparity in the sharing of the 40 billion naira earned allowances, in which the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, was allocated 75% of the total sum, leaving 25% of 3 unions, and the alleged usurpation of the functions of the non-teaching staff of ASU members. JAC is made up of Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions, NASU, and the Senior Staff Association of Nigeria Universities, SSANU. The group have threatened to shut down the university starting from February 5th if the federal government fails to address some of the concerns they have raised. Joining us from our Abuja studio for more updates on the current federal government face-off is the president of the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, Comrade Mohammed Ibrahim. Comrade, I'm tempted to say, whose side are you on? Because the students are just coming up for air after the last series of strikes, and now we're seeing that you're threatening an indefinite strike commencing this Friday.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I would like to answer your question by saying that we belong to the side of Nigerians.
Nigerians? She's talking about students. We're not talking about Nigerians. We're talking about students, your immediate constituency. You know why she asked that? Because, of course, just the other day, ASU stopped their strike. You threatened yours. And then maybe you should add to that the fact that you were crying that there seems to be a preferential treatment when it has to do with ASU, as against when it has to do with SSANU and NASU.
Well, when I said we belong to the side of Nigerians, I'm also cognizant of the fact that our immediate constituency, as you put, the students are also Nigerians, most of them, even though in the universities you have foreign students, and that we belong to the side of the truth. We also belong to the side of reality. The question of whether we have them in mind or we are mindful of the fact that the school is just resuming is something that has a long history. We are not oblivious of the fact that students are just resuming. We are also, and that is the reason why we did not just wake up one day and just decided to, down tools and go on strike. The last time I was here, I told you that this is an inherited problem that started and dated back to 2009, and there is date or there is time for everything. Now, the timing, as you must have said, will be troubling to not only the students, but even us, because we also, will not function properly and will not be happy to see that the schools are shut. But of course, there is, like I said, there's time for everything. And that this process started, from 2009, culminating into October last year, where there was an MOU that government signed with us to concretize and give a timeline to ensure that all our grievances, were attended to. And 4 months almost down the line, this thing, of course, never came to fruition. And the reason we did not go on strike immediately is also to sensitize and show government that we have a different modus operandi. And we had a 3-day protest 2-3 weeks ago, trying to, call the attention of government that there is a breach in an agreement you had, and there is something that you promised to do and you did not do. And that I always tell people that whatever is worth doing well. There is no way we will continue to operate in an environment where our members are not in the best of their conditions, because our lives and the lives of the students also matter. These students interact with us directly. When you are admitted into the university, before you take up the academic activity, you start with the non-academic activities. From the point of registration, from the point of ensuring that all that you require is given to you, and up to the point of knowing where and what and the do's and don'ts in short, in the university community. This all revolves around our membership. Now, you can imagine if our members are not in the best of comfort, if they are not being paid their salaries, which is the contract they have entered with their employers, or if they get mutilated salaries at the end of the day, when they have families to also cater, when they have children in such universities that they also need to pay for their school fees, and the money is not there. I do not understand, and it's not a rocket science to tell you that the issues, things cannot continue to flow the way they should. And that is why we sensitized government, we gave a 2 weeks deadline, and that government in its wisdom, they invited us, and we met yesterday, and there was a stalemate. And we have adjourned the meeting to get back to our constituencies, because for us as leaders, we do not have the direct mandate to either call for strike or suspend strike, as the case may be, without referring back to where our principles are.
All right. Yes. So after your meeting, are you saying after the warning strike, the stalemate, okay, you're going to go back to your constituency, what will the status quo be? That no strike yet?
We have declared that on the 5th of February, that's Friday, by 12 midnight, if our demands are not met, our members would withdraw their services. And there is no counter directive for now. Okay. And that is why we say that we are going back to their constituencies to tell them that this is the level we have reached with government, and there's a stalemate.
Okay. Well, do you say the Minister for Labour has stated that on the back of that meeting, according to him, most of your critical demands were met. But I guess from your perspective, that's not true. But I just want to ask as to the efficacy of this whole process of going on strikes. How productive is it really? Is there no other means of getting what you want without stomping on the grass?
I wish there were better ways of handling this, which we would have explored, and we have been doing so. Because here you are having an issue with your employers, you have met them, you have outlined, you sat down, you agreed on a program, on issues that should be solved that impact directly to the bearing and the lives of people who do these jobs. And that government was has convincingly shown that, yes, you are on the right side and we needed to do this. Sorry, we would not do it until so time. There was an MOU that was signed on the 20th of October. And that MOU had a timeline of 2 weeks. And all the principal parties that were supposed to know, the critical stakeholders, that whose table those problems, stop, were there. And they took part in the signing. And these people, 4 months later, cannot tell us exactly where we are. And that is why we said that we cannot continue to linger. Like I've told you, the issues of payments of salaries, which is very, very serious. Since the inception of the IPPIS, most of our members are still languishing in problems because their salaries have been mutilated. I give you an example of our medical and health workers, which is very strategic in a university community. Their jobs are so critical. You will not expect to send your child to the university and then, God forbid, he has issues and he has to be attended to by the medical team, and then he goes there and the services are not there. Their allowances were completely chopped off. The minister confirmed that in his statement yesterday. We told them. And that allowances such as the call duty, the shift, the hazard that were supposed to be paid alongside their salaries were not paid. Even of late, this pandemic period, you are also aware that federal government has approved that hazard allowances should be paid to medical staff or medical workers for those that attend to these issues surrounding COVID-19. I tell you that none of our members in the tertiary, in the universities, have benefited a kobo from it. And that Corona does not respect the precincts of the university walls because it is all over. You are also aware that, sadly, we lost some very key members of the university community in the last 1 month. So if such issues arises, they normally take them to the clinics, and that our members are exposed, and that these members of ours that work in the clinic also interact with the larger community within the university, precincts.
Okay.
Now, apart from that.
No, go ahead. Land
yes.
your points. Go ahead, sir.
Yes. Now, outside that, there are members of ours who have not received salary from February last year till today because of one problem or the other that is aggravated by the lack of functionality of the IPPIS program, which we have told government, and the director of IPPIS was at the meeting yesterday. And we told them that, look, for issues such as this, our members cannot continue to sacrifice their lives, their well-being and their welfare for the fact that there is no end in sight as to the day when these problems will be solved. And that is why we had to draw a line. Okay. And that is where we are today. Okay,
Comrade, I just want to follow up on this issue of the IPPIS and the mutilation of salaries, as you put it. Yes. Help us understand, is it that the IPPIS is not functional when it comes to your members? Because across the board, other people don't seem to have that problem. And then, again, back to my previous question, which is why I wanted to follow up on this. Is there no other avenue, no other recourse, like, the courts, that you could pursue this issue with?
Well, your first question is to say that the mutilation of the salaries, arose as a result of the engagement or the flag off of the IPPIS program, which as we are today, the other counterpart of ours, our colleagues in the academic sector, have totally rejected. And for us, when we initially rejected and gave government the benefit of the doubt to demonstrate to us, we told them that, look, this your platform is for the core civil service. The university system has peculiarities because when you operate in the university system, you understand that there are issues, there are things that we do that is outside of the civil service. For example, the age thing. In the civil service, once you are 60, you retire. And that is how the IPPIS thing is fashioned. So, in our own university environment, people can work up to 65 years. For those in the professorial cadre, they can go up to 70 years. Now, if you go into IPPIS, once you are 60, it knocks you out, which means you will no longer collect salary. And then outside that, there are some peculiar allowances that are only available in the institutions that are not in the civil service. For example, you also have the opportunity of going on sabbatical leave to go and share your knowledge in another environment. And when you're on sabbatical, you are also obliged to collect your salary from your mother station and where you work. And because everybody has one single BVN now, there is no way the system will allow that you take those salaries, from your mother station and then where you are doing your sabbatical. And then outside that, there are also allowances like I have mentioned earlier, shift, hazard, call duty, overtime, responsibility allowances that have been approved by government. These are not things that we just drop from somewhere, but these things have been agreed upon and is part of the conditions of service of staffers of the university community. And those things are not there provided in the IPPIS platform. So that is why when I say that our people are now poorer or they get mutilated salaries, you now understand that chunk of the monies that they are supposed to get from such allowances are totally not available.
All right. Thank you so much for being on NEWSDAY.
Okay, welcome back. You're watching NEWSDAY, and I believe we still have our guest, the comrade, who was speaking to us about the possible, we're hoping it will not come to pass, the possible strikes on February 5th, which is this Friday. Good to have you with us still. I was just speaking with my colleague whilst we're on break. I want to find out from you, do you feel the fact that ASU go on a separate, campaign to yours has disadvantaged you? Because one of the conditions I saw, or one of the reasons you're striking, as far as I can make out, is that ASU are being given 75% and you are being left to 25%. Perhaps if you had come together and sat at the same table, you may not have been left with the residue, so to speak.
Well, thank you for, asking that question. And as much as possible, I try to say that the government is the creator of the problem. When I say government, I mean our employers. Because when you talk about having a community such as a university, where you have 4 university-based unions, you have members of staff who work in different departments, have different schedule of duty. In the university system, you have 4 unions. You have the ASU for the academic staff, you have the senior non-teaching staff, and then NASU and NAT. Those are the people that work in the community who are interwoven in by the calling of their duties. Nobody is doing the person's job, and nobody can do the other person's job because everybody has his own calling. Now, we have had 4 agreements signed with the federal government in 2009. All these 4 unions have their separate agreements signed with government, and that in such agreements, the issue of the earned allowances were there and they were in clear terms. For us, we talk about the earned allowances, and those earned allowances are allowances that are paid for jobs that are done for specific members of staff. For example, I keep mentioning, we have the responsibility allowances. These are allowances that are given to only heads of departments, heads of units, and it's not for everybody. Then you have the call duty that goes only to the medical doctors. Then you have the shift for other members of staff who work on shift basis. Now, those agreements after being signed, government agreed that payments will be made. And because of the way we operate, this thing accumulated over the years, and that government kept giving in piecemeal the payments of arrears. It started in 2013. Payments were made, and we had no issues with that the first payment because the monies were sent to the universities for the management to now understand, give out to those that are deserving. But subsequently in 2017 and 2018, the payments that were made were now given in the name of unions. And that was where the problem started. Because for me, I keep saying, government has no business giving money to unions. Yes, members of unions can yearn, can ask, can struggle to get such approvals, but monies should be given to the universities directly, and it is the universities that will know exactly who deserves what. But when ab initio, you give money and you say, I'm giving this X amount for Union A, and then Union B, C, D will take X amount, and it's lopsided from the way it is given. All right, you are calling for a problem within the system.
Are you then saying that because it looks like you're shooting yourself in the leg, are you then saying that there is no need for unions? Because what you're saying is that government should bypass whether it is SSANU, whether it is NASU or ASU, and go straight to university authorities. That means there's no need for the unions.
Please don't get me wrong. Okay. I did not say there may be no need for the unions. What I said, unions can struggle and fight for the rights of its members. Unions are not a parallel government. Unions are pressure groups. We work and we are registered with the federal government. Our registration is with the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment, and that is why government listens to us. What I'm saying is, at the end of every struggle, agreements are signed, and because unions should not be given money, in their names. First, you are a member of staff of a university before you belong to any union, and that such universities or institutions clearly know who belongs to what union and who deserves what. So when unions struggle and they get these things from government, like I told you, the 2013 payment went in the name of pro-chancellors of the universities. These monies are meant for allowances A, B, C, D, E. And then the universities know exactly, because every member of staff has his schedule of duty and he knows what he should earn. And that universities, gave out this money exactly the way it should. But then when ab initio, you are giving money in the name of a union, that is my own quarrel. You should not say, I'm giving 10 naira to Union A and then 5 or 2 naira to Union B. I am giving 20 naira for the payment of allowances of members of staff who belong to the 4 unions. Let the universities go and sort it out. That is exactly what I am canvassing for. And if that was done, issues such as talking about favoring a Union A and favoring Union B wouldn't have arisen completely.
Okay, well, again, we appreciate your breaking that down for us. What we're hoping is that going forward, there will be some kind of consensus in terms of how you put forward your pressure on government, so that when the issue is settled, then we're sure that it's settled and not that another issue will spring up adjacent to that. Is there any possibility of that? You're collaborating with the other unions to present a united front?
My union, the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SSANU, is never averse to coming together to work with any union. For your information, currently we work hand in hand with NASU. We have been working with NAT, and that we are not averse to converging and discussing because we all operate in the same environment. There was a forum where I mentioned that, members of ASU are married to SSANU members. SSANU members are married to ASU members, and so also with NASU and others. So the issue of saying that we will not sit down to talk, for me and under my leadership, we are always open and we are ready. If the environment or the atmosphere is created, we sit down. Before now, we were told by those of our seniors that worked in the system before, there used to be only one union in the university system. There used to be only one salary table in the university system. Well, how it happened and how it is now, I will not be able to explain. But we are not averse to having a conducive environment, because most of us in SSANU are administrators, and we know exactly what it is required to have a peaceful environment where students, who are the greatest stakeholders, will have a peaceful stay. If you go to a university and when the day on your graduation, what the chancellor tells you before awarding degree is that you are found worthy in character and learning. It's not even in learning and character. He starts with character and learning. Who molds the character of students in the university community? All of us do, but of course, the greater percentage comes from the non-teaching staff, because we are the first point of call, and we will be the last point of call for the students and for anyone that works within the community.
Thank you.
All right, we'll probably leave it there. We just hope that there might just be a place where, like my colleague was asking you, where probably, because I was telling her, these are two different organizations, the unions, where that you can harness, your strong points together, the NASU, the ASU, so that there's one front. One doesn't know whether that will happen, but I guess we just hope. Otherwise, there must be some other ways to work things out. And we hope that the strike doesn't hold anyway come 5th Friday. Thank you so much for being on Newsday.
I want to assure you that once government listens to it and they do the needful, the strike will not take place. But once it's not done, I'm afraid our principals will decide on the next step.
We'll take your first
Thank
statement.
you.